I never ever thought I would say these words out loud, but like this is truly 98% accuracy what my photos would look like.
Instead of us and me and our engineers deciding what looks good, we just worked with you. We built a system that was able to reverse engineer and capture your creative decision-making process so that you effectively train the model with your work. It's actually our flagship world model that's trained on millions of photos. It understands paint color. It understands what a sky is and how to mask it.
It's just incredible. I think that's one of the most revolutionary things that's happened in this industry in a long time.
Honestly, the thing that I'm most proud of, you're talking about the agency owner who didn't have the ability to do this, who can now do it.
I'm incredibly impressed at you and your team that you were able to do this. I don't think that that's possible, you know? And here we are. So it's crazy to be sitting in this chair 2 years later.
All right, welcome to the AutoHDR office.
What up, dude?
So, today is a very cool day for our industry. I think things kind of fundamentally change with this model, the Jacob Guthrie model.
Absolutely.
You know, here's an example of it, but today we're going from us, AutoHDR, offering a model that does one style that we've determined looks good from user feedback, to anyone around the world being able to produce your style of editing without having the skill set to produce it. And instead of us and me and our engineers deciding what looks good, we just worked with you. We built a system that was able to reverse engineer and capture your creative decision-making process.
Yep.
So that you effectively train the model with your work.
Yeah.
And so it's really not AutoHDR, it is your style, it captures your style.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, you know, we're AutoHDR, but you shoot 18 bracket flash photography. And
Sometimes.
so this is one of the hardest engineering things that we've done, but I'm extremely proud of it. So
For sure.
let's dive into how it's made. Okay, so like obviously we've been working together on this, so I know what your style looks like.
Yeah.
I know the quality of properties that you're shooting, but what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna pull up some of the raw photos and some of the edits that you've sent, so
Yeah.
people can get an understanding of like the level of complexity, attention to detail, and just like literal art that goes into your shooting process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I've been doing this for 3 years now. Started 3 years ago. Really decided to kind of double down on my quality and, you know, try to become one of the best about a year and a half ago. And, you know, since then I've been fortunate enough to build up a clientele of some of the top producing real estate agents and teams in the country. I shoot some of the coolest properties in the world, in my opinion. I mean, I'm incredibly grateful for the, you know, every day I'm showing up to a property that just blows my mind, and you know, it's one of my favorite parts of the job. So I've absolutely fell in love with this industry and with the you know, with the actual product and work itself. You know, I love all my clients, and this is sort of the next evolution. You know, I mean, I did not believe that this was possible. Like, I believe in you. I've seen what you've done obviously in the last few years, but like, I did not think that you know, creating this model and having the ability to reproduce, you know, my look or my photos, just because of, like you just said, the complexity of what goes into this. I know that firsthand from the, you know, front end shooting and the back end editing side. And so, I mean, yeah, here we are.
Yeah. It's not just me, it's, you know, our army of engineers
For
that
sure,
are working on this too.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's really cool because I think, you know, we can sit and we can decide what looks good, and that's what we've done in our like core AutoHDR models. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, if we can capture like what the best photographer at a certain style does in their work, that is what actually gets us to the level of quality they would produce.
Absolutely.
So this is this photo that you edited here. This is you, your editor, your shoot. This is gorgeous. And here's the raws. Can you walk through your shooting process that we see here as we're going through these?
Yeah, I mean, it's very unorthodox compared to what I'm sure a lot of, you know, you real estate photographers and current AutoHDR users are used to, in terms of shooting a 3-5 stop bracket. You know, set the camera down, or even, you know, in some cases just handheld, right? Like we're in this state of efficiency in terms of like most real estate shooters. And so my style and the way that I shoot is completely different. You know, I don't bracket at all. I manually shoot one dark exposure, which if you go back a few frames, like I manually shoot one dark exposure right there, and then next frame I manually shoot one, properly exposed for the interior, and then I go into flash frames, which I guess that one I did 3 ambient, but then I go into flash frames so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many, right? There's like
So many.
I think there's 9 or 10 in this frame, and not all of them may get used, but for large rooms like this with multiple layers and very unique lighting, scenarios, I'm shooting, like you said, up to 15 to 20 different, frames that all get blended together into one shot. So it's a completely different overall approach to actually shooting and capturing properties than what most people are used to.
Yeah, it's not like any style that I've seen before. The most inputs I had seen was like 7, even with flash.
For sure.
And when you sent the raws over, it was 18 with flash. And you're in them, literally. It's not just like a flash pop. You're in every single one, lighting up every single corner.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the model can effectively take in every single frame, use all of the data, and create an output. Before we get into how it works, can you talk about what the actual human editing process for this looks like? How much are you paying per photo? What are you charging your clients per photo shoot for work like this?
I'll answer the question in reverse. So my pricing for photography starts around 800 is like the absolute floor. But I would argue a good between 80-90% of my shoots also include like vignette style photos, which is the more kind of editorial, vertical, magazine looking shots, and then also twilight, which adds $700 to any shoot. So most of my photography only shoots are starting at 1,500, and that's for under 2,000 square feet. So we're talking big properties. This one's 5,000-6,000 square feet. We're talking a $2,500 to $3,000 photo invoice.
Yep.
So that's photo only. I didn't even do video at this house. A lot of people are always like, oh, well, that's photo and video. No, that's only photos.
Yep.
In terms of the cost per photo, the reason I charge a lot because of the demand and the clientele that I have and the properties that I'm shooting, the portfolio that I've built, but also because I'm paying right now $6.50 per photo. So and that's for interiors. I believe for exteriors it's around $4. So it's slightly cheaper because those are slightly more simple than blending.
So these edits
18 frames
we're going through now, these are $6.50 each that you pay your editor.
Correct. Yeah. So again, you can obviously imagine. I think that there's close to 60 to 70 photos in this gallery, maybe more. I've delivered galleries with 120 photos before, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm still shooting real estate. I still have to capture as much of the property as anybody else does, and in most cases, on top of that vignettes and twilights and things like that. So I'm delivering a ton of photos. So you can do the math, obviously. 60, 70 photos times $6.50. Like it's a ton. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars that I'm spending on photo editing per shoot, right? So,
yeah. And this, I don't even see this model as being about speed or efficiency or cost savings. I see it as people join your coaching program. They want to learn how to shoot, how to edit. People can try to learn for years how to do this kind of style.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And instead of like having to arduously learn how to blend every single flash frame, it enables anyone, no matter how they shoot, to be able to achieve that style.
Right.
And achieve this level of beauty. If they have this creative taste, they think the property should be showcased in this way, more moody, more emotional, tell the story of it.
Totally. It's you can do that. Shooting this way, I was just having a conversation with someone, is a huge learning curve. Like somebody just asked me, hey, I have the opportunity to get into real estate photography. What do you recommend? And then I basically told him, shoot 3 brackets and put it in AutoHDR. And he was like, so he was like, but I want to learn Flash. And I was like, absolutely. It's a very steep learning curve, and it'll take you longer. You might make more money, but it will take you a lot longer. So if you want to, make money now, and so this model completely eliminates that learning curve that we're talking about and immediately allows people to go to charging premium prices, because this is a premium product at the end of the day. Like it's a very, very, very premium product. I have spent 3 years developing this product and have the average order value, the clientele, and shoot the properties that I do because this is my product. And now, anybody can have that product and apply that same, strategy to their business. So it's truly revolutionary. There's no other way to describe it. So.
Yeah, so this shoot, let's look at the first shoot that was run through the model.
Yeah.
So now that people understand how you shoot, you're taking ambient brackets, you're taking a flash pop, you're walking around the room, lighting it up.
Yep.
Your human editor is removing you. They're selecting the portion of each input image that has the optimal shadows
Yeah.
to create the level of emotion, removing you, adding fire in the fireplace, blacking out the TV and this matte, gorgeous look, kind of making everything, I've noticed like everything looks a little creamy. It's kind of stark, contrasty, and it's moody, right? It's not HDR at all, but it's beautiful. And so this is a shoot that the model wasn't trained on, so we can see how it generalizes, but it was trained on inputs, how you shoot them, literally your inputs and your outputs. And so it learns, given your inputs, to produce those same outputs, to remove you, to add fire like, you would add it, black out the TV like you would have it look.
Right.
And so this is a shoot where, and I don't even think you've seen this entire shoot, definitely not full screen. So we can get your initial reaction as well on this one. But this is one that you did, last week?
Couple weeks ago.
Couple weeks ago.
Very, very recent.
So you shot exactly how you would shoot it, and
Yep.
these are the outputs from the model. So we can go through.
I've told you this, but like when you first told me that you had this idea, it's not that I didn't believe in you and your team because of what you've built, but I didn't think that this was possible. And so, I sort of, my mindset was I'll believe it when I see it. And then, randomly one day you just text me a link to a Loom video and I'm like, oh, what's this? And I look and I'm like, holy shit, dude, like you did it. Like, I mean, I literally just had the biggest smile on my face for like 10 minutes. I was just like, something that I thought was impossible, like just was done. And like I said, exceeded my expectations, right? I imagined it would have been a long process to get it from like initial, like, hey, we've kind of cracked the code in terms of like, it's editing your photos now, but it's not looking good, right? And I thought it'd take it, but it's like, I mean, even in the first couple of sets that it edited sight unseen, right? This is not data that it was trained on, that it knows how to reproduce. And here we are. I mean, it's incredible, dude.
Well, I texted you about it a while ago, almost like a year ago.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, start saving up your photo shoots.
Yep.
And then that's when we started building the tech that would allow for this to be done, right? It's it's actually our flagship world model that's trained on millions of photos. It understands paint color. It understands what a sky is and how to mask it.
Yeah.
What furniture is. It understands all of these things and these items, and then we basically figured out a way where we can take the world knowledge and then fine tune stylistically.
Like,
and
dude,
so,
that just looks so good. Go back to that.
we've been working on it
Just
for
incredible.
almost a year.
Yeah.
And then once we had tested it on styles, like different styles, but not your style. And then once we had the tech ready, I said, all right, let's start iterating. And so pretty good in the first one shot, and then added more data.
I mean, like
And now
I
I'm pretty
said,
happy with how it's
I'm
looked.
obviously sitting here and I know that this is edited, by my AI model now, but like if I quickly scrolled through these photos, completely unknowing of that there was a difference, I would think that these are the photos that I delivered to my client. And the AI, the model has not seen the final photos of this gallery.
Nope.
So like
Completely
that's what's
inferring
even
what they should
more
look
incredible to me is
Yeah.
like, I just want people to understand that like this is not the model recreating the output that it saw and just kind of copy and pasting. Like this is the model editing raw photos that it has never seen before. These are raw Sony files with, like you said, I mean, up to, I don't think I had that many in this shoot, but like up to probably between 8 to 12 frames composited per photo. I mean, like, and it's truly editing and compositing real flash frames. I mean, it's incredible.
And this is with no post-processing work. It's right out of the model. So basically what's going on is, it's taking all the input frames, but what the model's learned to do, right? Jacob will pop flash in certain areas to cast shadows, use ambient to capture like the rest of the data. And it's basically seeing from the data set that you provided, which of the raw photos, given the lighting, the windows, that style of room, that property, which of those flash pops, which of the shadows were used in the output image. And it's learning that transformation so it can recreate it, given new photos with new flash pops to see, hey, here's what part of the photo we should be taking. Here's what part of each image we should be blending in any given scenario.
Right.
Right? And so this is what it looks like with the flash. Now, this is totally non-generative, right? So this is just taking the literal input images and it's figuring out, hey, how do I map each part of each photo to the output image,
Yeah.
and then also stylize it in the same way that your editor would,
Right.
right? But the really interesting thing that we also did is we trained it in a way such that you can shoot without Flash, and you can allow it to be generative.
Yeah.
So we talk about some model. There's like Google Nano Banana, fully generative, recreates the image. There's some models where it could never do something like a person removal, something like this, because it's completely non-generative. So the cool thing with this one is you can have it be entirely non-generative, not invent anything, not invent any shadows, and just map the inputs to the outputs like your editor would.
Right.
Or you can shoot ambient only and have no Flash and have it infer what the shadows would look like if there was Flash.
Yeah.
So I haven't shown you a bunch of these, but yesterday I just grabbed a bunch of random photo shoots of run-of-the-mill properties, luxury properties, a mix, right? Because you're shooting these high-end properties.
Yeah, yeah. Mine are a little biased towards already looking pretty sexy
Already.
because the property itself is really damn cool. So yeah.
Let's look at just some pure ambient photos.
Yeah.
Cool. And what I have, let me go full screen. What I have on the left is the AutoHDR. It's just whatever the user was running on this photo shoot.
Right.
So on the left, I can tell this is the AutoHDR V3 exterior, and on the right, it's your model, right? Now you don't do sky replacement really.
I do. I just I treat it a lot differently than traditional like HDR photo editing.
Right. And what I've noticed on your model, at least this initial version, is like we'll do a pure blue sky replacement because most real estate photographers
For sure.
want pure blue.
Yeah.
And this leaves it like the kind of gray, overcast, and it leaves this kind of hazy look.
Right.
Like not hazy, more like whimsical, misty.
Yeah. No.
Like,
I mean, in every single one of my exterior photos, I decrease the dehaze and clarity slider in Lightroom, which, if you're not familiar with what that does, it essentially makes the photo look hazy and look more dreamy, and like the light is more glowy and soft.
dreamy is the word.
So no, you are right. Like I do intentionally add like haze and kind of this, dreamy, like whimsical,
glow.
however you want to say it, look to every exterior. So yeah.
And it's interesting because like our high volume HDR clients, if we gave them this, it'd be like, oh, there's no sky replacement, the agent's going to complain.
Right.
It's like this model is not for you.
Yeah.
Right? This model is
Absolutely.
for you're trying to show off the vibe and the emotion. And look at the detail in the reflection, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, this on the left, AutoHDR V3 exterior, and then on the right is yours. So let's go to the interiors. Again, so this house has 0 Flash. All it is a dark, middle, and bright bracket. I think on this one, it's -2 EV, 0, and +2 EV. HDR brackets only. So AutoHDR V3 on the left, yours on the right.
Wow.
So I'll share my immediate observations as I've been going through these. It's freaking insane. So first of all, let's just look at the shadows, right? So there's clearly this is an overcast day. You can tell because yours doesn't make it this bright blue sky. And as we're looking at this photo, like you can see there is no light that would cast a shadow on anything. Like there's a little shadowing here, but these legs don't have any shadow. These beams certainly don't have any shadow, right? There's none of that. And then here, these beams are getting shadow like you were popping a flash up here. These legs are casting a shadow like there's a flash. They have this smooth, creamy look. It's turning the walls the same kind of color that you would in your editing style. What do you see in this?
I mean, yeah, I think it looks identical to my style, and the fact that the model can already do this, and it can already be trained on real flash frames and my inputs and outputs, and then take any ambient bracket and apply that look to it, to me is incredible, because obviously, like we just said, flash is a big learning curve. Not everybody has time on site to shoot with flash, and I think it's absolutely remarkable that we have both options, because there are a lot of flash shooters out there, including myself, that still want to shoot flash and really get that realistic look, right? Of like, these are real flash frames and that sort of thing. And then there are a lot of shooters out there, that are high volume, pumping shoots out every day, going, from property to property, that don't have time to use flash in every single room. And the fact that it can do this and say, hey, you don't need a flash, I'll just, like you said, infer it for you, is absolutely incredible. I mean, we're covering all of the bases, in terms of whatever level of photography you're at and whatever model your business is, right? Whether it's high volume or kind of high end luxury premium, agency, like the model can take care of you no matter where you are in your business.
So let's look at, there's a few cool ones. This one to me is really neat just because of the level of shadows that got cast.
Yep.
Also, I noticed in a lot of your properties, you don't necessarily shoot with the lights off always, but they might be on, but you'll really like mute them down.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're off.
Right.
And you can see the lights are on here and it literally like turns this light fixture off. And
well,
mutes it.
that's something that the flash does, because you're killing a lot of the ambient light by cranking your shutter speed up, and then you're blasting a flash into the frame, and so in turn that evens out whatever lighting fixtures would normally be blown out if you properly expose the rest of the interior. If that all sounds like gibberish to you, basically flash is just helping me even out the frame. And what the model is doing here, you can see if you look in the left, look at those can ceiling lights. They're all, especially that back one, you can tell that that's blown out, and highlights are basically being recovered. If you look at the frame on the right, you can see that it perfectly muted all of those can lights to where you still see them and you still know that they are there and that they're on, but they're not distracting anymore.
That's so insane.
Same with that chandelier as well. You can tell it's on, but it's no longer this kind of big eyesore on the ceiling. It's just complementing the rest of the frame.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm in love with the shadows that get cast, like these for the lamps, this for the bed. Yeah. And then it is really interesting, like for our just core HDR model, people talk about color accuracy all the time. And the new V4 one Iris is like really nice at like getting the exact input, but you can always argue whether you're the homeowner, the broker, the photographer, it needs to be deeper, less deep, warmer, cooler.
Right.
And there's some subjectivity to it. This is interesting because in terms of actual color accuracy, like you can see in all of your photos, right? Let's actually go and look at your gallery. These are, well, you would know, right? These houses are white walls. Are these white? Or?
Those are slightly off-white, but yes, they're a very close to white. Like that marble on the countertop's a better example. That's white.
That's white.
Like that's white marble. So.
And the entire image gets this. Those are beautiful. This kind of like muted, creamy off-white tan coating over it. That's part of the style, right?
And here's the cool thing. Like people are always like, oh, my clients would kill me if I gave them this photo because the walls look, yellow or what. And it's like, I've never had a client ever complain to me about color accuracy, literally ever. Like I'm like, not exaggeration, like ever. I've never had that. I've gotten feedback,
because you're not a photo mill. You are saying, I think that the property, like you can't make it inaccurate. You can't turn the walls blue.
Right.
But you're going like, I think the property would look best with this aesthetic of these walls. I can tell these are white looking at them, but you've made them tan,
and I have people say that to me a lot, is like, I can, like, the colors are so good because I can tell what color the walls still are.
Yes.
But the treatment still makes it feel very editorial and warm and inviting, and and it evokes this emotion while still being practical in terms of telling people what colors things are. I think that HDR has like year over year, increasingly taken the whole like white walls, flat image thing to the complete extreme. We're at a point right now, like, where even the AI models, like, it's nothing wrong with it because it's what a human editor would do.
It's what people want.
But like people want this like crazy stark white looking image. And,
like this ceiling. That's what people are like, we want it.
Right.
Whites should be desaturated, pulled out, zero color. They want that.
Exactly.
Yours, this is a white ceiling. You can tell this is like white trim, but the model, right? Because we're gonna get people who are, oh, the paint is inaccurate. Yeah. The style is that it's becoming off-white. It's becoming this creamier, warmer
People are
look.
Going to say, I could never deliver this. This is inaccurate. But like, what you don't understand, what those people don't understand is that like that is intentional. That is what the model should be doing.
This is a white comforter.
Said, if that's not for you, then use the the standard core HDR model. But if you do want to offer this higher end, output and have these more emotional photos that have, brought incredible success to me in my business, then, then the model is here for you. Go back to that bedroom shot, because I think that was a great example. Yeah, this one. This is a great example of, you can tell that ceiling is white. The model is still differentiating the color of the more kind of creamy walls versus the white ceiling, right?
Yeah,
They're
the
not
white trim.
identical.
The
But
comforter here. It's like tan, the cushion
especially
is
on the
tan.
comforter. Like,
this is white.
But you can tell, in the core model on the left versus my model on the right, just looking at those two frames, you feel different, right? One of them you just kind of feel indifferent, and one of them you feel like, like invited into the photo,
Raise a damn family in that room. Look at the light fixture.
Exactly.
So this is a cool property. This is one where like the style really fits.
Yeah.
I think these are gorgeous. This one I can't get over.
Yeah,
like
that one's great. I mean, like I said, like, I never ever thought I would say these words out loud, but like, this is truly what, with a 98% accuracy, what my photos would look like if I shot this property. Now, obviously, a human editor may have made a couple of different decisions, but with an astronomically high accuracy rate, this is what my photos would look like if I was at this home shooting it. And I think for people to have the ability to say that, and not even that they look like my photos, it has nothing to do with me, but I think for people to have the ability to say, I've taken, magazine level quality photos of a property with only 3 input brackets, doing nothing different than I normally do, and I can now charge double for this look than what I'm charging right now and do nothing different. I think that's one of the most revolutionary things that's happened in this industry in a long time.
So check this one out. This one is really, really interesting to me. It's one of my favorite examples, aesthetically, but also with what the model
incredible, yeah.
did.
So this is incredible.
Again, all HDR brackets. So let me make it super clear. This model is really unique. In real estate, for us, we have to train these custom models so that they don't hallucinate, right? If, for example, you've ever seen a hallucination from one of our outputs, it's probably from like, we did a additional step, like, people can turn on or off fire in the fireplace. And maybe in the past, there's been like a false positive where we see a microwave and thought it was a fire and like added in. There's some things that are isolated from the core model that are hallucinatory. They're supposed to be, it's generative. But we'll get the base image and then we'll detect a fireplace, mask it, and add fire and hallucinate that in, right? That's the point. So if you've ever seen a hallucination in one of our models, it's actually a post-processing step. But the core models are specifically designed to not hallucinate. This one has the flexibility to do either. It can if you do shoot with a flash, it will take the flash and the lighting and the shadows that you cast and edit them in like your editor would do. If it's HDR only, it will infer what most likely it would have looked like if there was a flash. So these again are only HDR brackets. Look at the handles on the cabinets and then look real quick at the reflection here. So you can see there is input data where you can see that there's cabinetry. And then you can see in the reflection, the cabinetry getting a flash exposed on it in the reflection. And then that flash then casting the shadow on the door handles. And it like understands the physics of this room. So much so that it's pretending like you were popping it behind the camera or like to the right side here and then casting these shadows directionally.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but like, that is exactly how I would have flashed that room. Like, I would have popped the flash from that back right corner, and you can see, it's creating the right shadow and the right, spillage of light coming from behind that island and being cut off. Like this is how, like I have so many kitchen photos that we could pull up that look identical to this, right? So like kind of, I call it like the down the galley shot, right?
Yep.
And this is how I flash every single one of them. So
yeah.
like it's just incredible, like, as we go.
It's literally, not only is it like editing it like it would be edited by your editor, but it is actually adding the flash in the angle that you would add it because it's trained on that.
Yeah, all accurately and keeping the ceiling even, which is something I'm very big on, talk about a lot. Go back to that bathroom shot actually. That's a great example. Like the lights on the left by the model were actually edited. Sorry, I'm like having to like 180. But like the lights on the left by the model were actually edited pretty well to be sort of kind of muted. But But, you know, a lot of the times we see in HDR, you know, edits only, you know, like in the typical HDR style, we see a lot of the time, you know, those lights being overexposed because, you know, just of how bright they truly are compared to a dark bathroom like this, especially with these, you know, kind of gray walls. If you look at what the model did, you know, first of all, it brought back that color, you know, that actual kind of true orange hue, which I prefer that hue over the other, you know, kind of true white hue in that island or, you know, in that marble. And, you know, as well as kind of muted those lights and the light that they're casting on the wall and like it's just incredible. It's just incredible, like what it's actually inferring and doing, you know, to these frames.
Yeah, and I mean it's literally all just based off the creative decision making of you and your editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like we're at a point where, so it's cool because like our style, you know, it's being used on I think at least 20% of just the U.S. listings, and
Which is
it's cool
crazy,
because
by
it's
the
like
way.
the product we've been selling is automation.
Yeah.
But you know, I have a real estate photography business, and I enjoyed shooting photos, but I loved shooting video because like you get to listen to the song, and then you get to think about the house and the day to night and where you're gonna time it up and the transition and the speed ramp and the feeling you're gonna get to evoke.
Yeah.
And now that's something where, you know, it's subjective. Some people might go, I hate Jacob's style, I like this. Some people might go, I hate the core auto HDR style, it's terrible.
Yeah.
This is what looks good. And it's subjective, and it's like,
For sure.
photography, the point is like, it's your art, it's your taste. And then we just enable
I mean,
people to get taste that
I've
is out of
talked-
their skill set.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's insane. And like I have talked to in the last 3 years of doing that. I mean, I'm not that old, obviously, but like, you know, in the time I've done this, I've talked to a lot of people, like more than most people in this industry do. And like, whether that's photographers, real estate agents, I've talked to thousands, you know, in both categories. And to me, it is, you know, incredible, like how many people do prefer this style. And what I would say is if you don't, which is totally fine, right? Like it's very opinionated, it's very subjective.
Literally, it
like
is,
anything creative. However, if you don't, I would say go to any, you know, major market in the U.S. Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco, you know, even here in like in Austin and kind of like central U.S. and any major market, and look at all of the you know, very high-end listings and even some like,
Let's see,
you know,
do you want to
2 to 5 million. And look at the photography that those realtors are opting to go with, right? Like real estate nationwide is taking a turn to, you know, this more editorial style of photography. And I go back to things like when you watch the Super Bowl and watch the commercials, they're not like, this is a product. The product does X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It's like a dad and a son going to a baseball game, drinking a Pepsi, and then it's a Pepsi ad, right? And the dad puts his arm around the son. What are they trying to do? They're trying to appeal to your emotions. Well, this is the exact same way. That's how any marketing, you know, has happened for decades and you know, centuries now. So it's like, I look at this the exact same way, right? Again, it's an extreme example for a very niche industry, but like I look at this the exact same way in terms of that's where things are heading in real estate. Real estate's finally catching up to this. We're appealing to people's emotions and we're selling them a lifestyle and a dream, right? We're not just selling them a white box. We're selling them a home that they're going to raise their family and their kids and have their dogs running around. Like it's really a feeling. And so when our photos can help convey that feeling of home, people are going to be willing to pay for it, and you are going to be booked out of your mind. So I would recommend for those people that do prefer the HDR style or have that kind of limiting belief that their clients are going to kill them if they give them, you know, this yellow looking or this, you know, that style of photography. I would encourage you guys to, you know, take a step back and kind of look at where things are going and you know, sort of think about those sorts of things. So
yeah, it's interesting looking. I'm looking at Beverly Hills. I'm usually looking at like East Coast. That's where my real estate photography business is.
Yeah.
But it is most certainly everything above 4.5 million here is this kind of more moody architectural
This is
style.
one of my clients. Or I think he still has this listing.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
But then if we go like, what's a good like East Coast? I mean, Austin I think is very HDR. Let's see. I mean, that's literally one of our photos.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. I've
This
seen
is
this.
moody.
I've seen this property.
That's moody. Maybe I'm wrong.
Very moody. This is HDR. it's a good mix, you know, and
Yeah.
and again, either style of photography works on any listing, right? Like it's not like if you shoot anything above $10 million, you can only do editorial or else you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing inherently wrong with either style, but I do think, you know, and I do personally see in a lot of major markets, I think specifically New York City and Los Angeles, which obviously kind of paved the way for every other major market and small market to kind of catch up to eventually. That's the style that you're going to see in a lot of properties, right? Like look at that one on the right of where you're looking now, right? Very editorial,
Oof,
like
yeah.
very
Beautiful.
editorial on this one,
Beautiful.
and they're beautiful. And
Yeah.
so, you know, for photographers in smaller markets, right? If you're in, you know, a small town or you know, a state with smaller population, and you know, no agent in your state has ever seen a photo like this, I encourage
Yeah, what
you.
a competitive edge, honestly.
Yeah, I encourage you to introduce this, right? Be the first. There's nothing wrong with kind of pioneering something. People will copy you, but if you're the first and if you nail this, and with the model that we've created now, the fact that you can output this in 30 minutes, like we haven't even talked about that, is unbelievable, because currently my photography turnaround time is between 4 and 5 days. And to
Really?
a lot of you, yeah.
How long does it take for each photo to be edited?
I mean, I'm just so busy, you know,
Yeah.
I'm still doing everything, you know, solo, which I
Right.
prefer,
Yeah.
but I'm so busy, like I don't want to guarantee that I can get back to my desk, even if my editor turns them around in 24 hours, which sometimes he does. I don't want to guarantee that I can be at my desk and be prepared to deliver that,
delivering.
you know, property and stuff. So I just give myself kind of a grace period, but occasionally for large projects, like it does take my editor 3 days, you know, like 72 hours, you know, or more to actually process the photo. So I'm getting the photos back 4 days later, you know, 4.5, 5 days later.
So this is like the style that we've been shooting on Nantucket. Nantucket is our market.
Yeah.
Actually, these are not our interiors. Let me grab some that we've shot interior. So Nantucket is like a very high-end market, but
Yeah.
there was never really professional photography because it's an island, right? But all the houses are very luxurious. We have never shot anything like the style that you do. And so we're shooting like a large majority of these listings. I'm going to have our team roll out and test shooting this for a few of the properties. Because our look
Absolutely.
is like, yeah, it's the auto HDR, classic HDR style, but imagine this house on the water. There's actually oh, never mind. But imagine that with like all the shadows being cast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see what the reaction is.
No, absolutely. It's gonna completely change the game in markets like this, and this is specifically.
It's never been introduced yet.
Yeah, this is specifically to a T. These style. I mean, like I love these Nantucket, you know, shingle style homes. I think the model will work beautifully on these homes. I think
Yeah.
it'll work beautifully on any home. But you know,
it would crush on this.
exactly. Like, you know, these are just incredible, you know, oceanfront, waterfront homes, and it would absolutely crush on these. I mean, the fact that, like I said, we haven't even mentioned it, but the fact that it can turn this style around in a half an hour, you know, it's not like this takes auto HDR, you know, 12 hours because it's a bigger model or it's taking in more data, processing more data. It's the same turnaround.
Well,
So,
the model is much more compute intensive.
yeah,
But
for
so
sure.
the majority of the time, we have good ways though of doing everything like basically all at once. So instead of doing one photo and the next, we do them all in tandem.
Yeah.
But here's actually what takes the most amount of time and why these might take, it's probably 30 minutes, but it could be more, is your files, right? Most of our customers shoot JPEG because it doesn't make a difference for the quality. The model's trained to do it just as well as RAW.
Right.
But the files that you're shooting are like 65 megabytes a piece,
Yeah.
which is already like more than 10x the size. And then you shoot 10 to 18 of them.
Yeah.
And so literally just downloading them to the server that's going to start editing,
Yeah.
and then like analyzing which ones are of the same group just takes longer because they're bigger, they're heavier to open,
Right.
all of that. You could actually start shooting JPEG and have the same quality results, which you might hate me for saying that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you should run a test.
No, absolutely.
You should run a test because
I want to. I was just about to ask you
The
that.
model-
No, I want to.
because here's how our core model is trained, and same with yours, right? It's a fine tune. The data sets, a human needs raw data to be able to edit a good photo.
Yeah.
You need all the data from the shadows, the highlights, recover it, blend it in. JPEG inputs, horrible. You're never going to get a good photo. So you build the training data set off of that, right? So your output photos that you're teaching the model to look like
Yeah.
are from RAWs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, everything that we're teaching the model to do, it's learning how to infer it
Yeah.
like it's a RAW. So you can upload RAW, you can upload JPEG. It doesn't make a difference because it's trained to make it look like a RAW. That's the beautiful thing about these models. So you could stop shooting RAW altogether. You should A/B test it.
It sounds scary, but I will test it though.
One thing I want to point out, in AutoHDR, again, a thing that we enable or disable on an account level is fire in the fireplace, TV blackout. People have different preferences. Also, fire is always generative. Like the fire doesn't exist, we're adding it. TV blackout is generative. It doesn't exist, we're adding it. All your photos, you have the same blackout and the same fire. And baked into the model, not a post-processing step. So literally on every photo we'll do this, is the blackout and the fire in the fireplace. And you can see it literally manipulated the logs to look like how it looks in your photos.
Just that quality alone is just mind-blowing. I mean, yeah, and this is actually something like that I brought up to Matt early on was I want the model to replicate what I'm doing in my photos to a T. You know, I don't want it to edit this beautiful, gorgeous looking like interior photo like with like the right shadows and the lights on the furniture and the colors and then slap like the HDR fire that we've all seen probably at this point. You've probably seen it 5 million times, you know?
Quick note, if you're gonna use this model and you have blackout and fire turned on in your account, those are post-processing steps. So I'm just gonna interrupt you real quick to show people this, but
go ahead.
In the new UI that we have, you can see all the post-processing steps such that you can go back and forth between them. So let me get you a good example. So yeah, for example, this image was edited and then it had fireplace and then TV. So our TV blackout and fire looks a certain way. And so you can see each sequential step here, but they are post-processing steps, and we've done it that way now so that you can go between them and disable them. If you have those on, disable them to do Jacob's model. I mean, you could have Jacob's model, you could see your inputs and you'll have the output here. You could still have fire and TV turned on, but then click back and revert to his. But his will just natively add the blackout and the fire as he would do it.
Yeah.
So the point is.
Yeah, I do that in every single photo, and yeah, I told Matt like that fire. Go to that next one. That fire, like looks like a actual PNG I have sitting on my desktop that I drop into photos all the time.
All right, this is and so we're on to a non-luxury listing, which will be interesting, right? So we're on to a more run-of-the-mill house.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because you don't really shoot these. So let's see how it generalizes.
Sometimes I do.
Sometimes, but you're seeing these for the first time, so we'll get the reaction.
I've never seen this.
First thing to point out though is there is no fire in this fireplace. Look at that. You're saying it looks like the PNG. That is literally adding in the entire logs and fire in there.
I mean, and it's the same like admittedly I'm overly picky and OCD about these tiny details, but at the same time I do think that's how I've gotten to the position that I'm in is because of my obsessiveness with these details. And so like before I ever agreed to do this, like, you know, I made sure that, you know, you and your team knew, like, I'm going to be picky and I'm going to make this as challenging as I can.
You sure did.
But that's because I want, like, anybody that touches this model, I want them to feel as if it is as specific as I would be if I was editing their photo or critiquing their photo. And so, you know, and I know the feedback and the negativity surrounding some of this stuff. And so my only goal is to eliminate as many objections or pushback as possible in terms of what the model itself is doing. And so like things like fire and TVs, as mundane as they are in real estate, you know, the thousands of them that we see every day, right? Like I wanted to ensure that those things were replicated exactly the way that my fires and my TVs look, because the fires always have a certain hue to them. It's like a few flames and it looks much more elegant and cinematic, and it actually fits in this high-end photo that we're outputting. You know, and it's not dropping in, like I said, I think at this point every overseas editor uses the exact same PNG of a fire, you know, and so it's like I wanted the opposite of that. So,
and it's interesting because in some you have a roaring fire. In some it's very light. Same with the blackout. Sometimes it's pure matte, pure black, and then sometimes you don't have any flames at all. in the model, again, we've had it learn in the exact way that the data set is formatted. So you'll see this one, it blacks it out, but not fully. There's a little reflection. And then it kind of draws down the reflection here, but there's no fire in the fireplace.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas some of the living room ones have like a roaring fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just look at that bedding as well, like that comparison. I mean, the model is understanding that, you know, in the HDR frame on the left, look at that, in that bedroom frame, go back real quick. In the HDR frame, we're obviously getting this massive glare, you know, light coming from the window hitting that bedding, and it knows that if I was shooting this with a flash frame, I would have, you know, blacked out this frame and canceled out a lot of that, you know, kind of, you know, like it doesn't look ugly, but, you know, having this massive highlight spread across that bedding is very distracting.
Yeah.
So look at how much more, it still has the same, you know, light patterns and direction, but just look how much more soft and diffused that light looks on the bedding in the right.
Very
right?
diffused.
So it's, yeah, again, it's doing all the right things
and then this
so far
one,
every time.
No fire in the fireplace. And then you go to this one and it's roaring. And look at the difference. That is like just so stark between the HDR and then and again, paint color. It's like, this is clearly like black, kind of violet, but then yours is just.
And you can tell what color
moody,
everything is. You can
stark,
tell that
yeah.
ceiling is, you know, slightly off-white. The walls in the hallway are, you know, either white or slightly off-white. But it's like, pay attention to the glare, you know, and things that are cast.
Yeah, totally remove the glare.
Yeah, in the HDR image. Like, that's what I think is also like, these photos feel higher end because they're more polished, right? A big reason people use flash is because it allows you to achieve, you know, lighting scenarios and also combat against, you know, harsh lighting scenarios that in ambient frames you just cannot fix, right? No matter what type of editing you do, sometimes you cannot remove the blooming in the windows or the glare on the you know, hardwood floor. And it's like that. Those are problems that Flash solves, and the model is understanding that Flash.
And now it can do it on HDR.
Yeah, exactly. The model's understanding that Flash eliminates those problems a lot of the time, and so it's inferring that it must also eliminate those problems, right? With the frames that it's editing from only ambient.
And again, this is only ambient, right? But the model, like a human would not really be able to eliminate those glares, those shadows. It's just too hard. You'd have to like mask the shadow.
It'd take way too long. Yeah,
it would be impossibly long.
And you probably end up circling that glare in Photoshop and using generative AI to just remove the glare instead of actually manually like clone stamping and masking it out.
Yeah.
So it ends up becoming AI anyway.
And
right?
so, well, this is a really interesting shot to me because you have the glare on the ceiling.
Yeah.
You have all this glare on the floor, glare on the walls, and all of it's totally gone here, right? And so it's never seen this photo, but it's seen all of yours where the glare like that simply doesn't exist. And so it's not even in its knowledge of the world to be able to output something like that. But it's not generative because these are highlights, but it has all of the data across all the inputs to know what the floor looks like.
Yeah.
But since it's AI, it can
Well,
perfectly balance
left,
each pixel.
And like the reflection of the trampoline and stuff, it's keeping those things, but they're very muted, right? It's turning them from a distracting hotspot or reflection to what they would look like in a flash frame. And I also want to point out in this frame specifically, and I saw this in one of the other ones as well, look at what the classic, you know, more HDR model did with that kind of back room where those two doors are versus what mine did.
Right.
It knows.
It lit up these.
Yeah, in any frame that I shoot like this, I'm shooting the living room. I don't care. I know that there's a hallway there. I can see the doorway. I see the doors. They're bright enough, right? But I'm shooting the living room. I want people's attention to remain in the room I'm talking about. I don't want to overexpose, which in the model, you know, in the HDR model's case, I would argue that that's, you know, slightly overexposed because look at that huge glare in the door and stuff, right? Like my eye almost goes straight past all the black and into that kind of white, you know, hallway. So what the model is doing is it knows that I wouldn't have popped the flash in there, which I actually would not have in this case. I would have left that slightly underexposed so that my, you know, my viewers' eyes stay in the room that I'm trying to keep them in. So it's incredible to me that the model inferred that as well. And I saw it do it in another photo as well before I pointed it out. So
because so many people, like one of the weak points of our older model, and even this one, some clients would probably argue, this is too dark. It's not lit up enough to match the rest of the room. And again, it just comes down to subjectivity. We can go and meet these requests, but we really just need to give the model the ability to learn what you would do.
100%, yeah.
And it's cool because, like, again, there's no flash, but it looks like you were standing right here. popping it, and it's going on the ceiling, it's going in the window, it's casting the shadow here, shadow, and that just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And this is a run-of-the-mill house, so I'm just going to start flipping through it,
And I
you
also
can
like how
make me
it's,
stop whenever you want.
just real quick on that last one too. I also like how it's sort of bringing up the, like, again, people have gotten, you know, same thing. It's gotten so extreme with these deep, dark window pulls, and it just feels so artificial, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me as a viewer, when I look at that, I immediately just think, this is so fake. I wonder what it looks like, you know, in person.
Yeah.
Our goal is to showcase properties as accurately, you know, and in my opinion, as editorially and kind of emotionally and as possible. And so what I like is that we can still like look at this frame. We can still see exactly what's outside the window. We can see whatever that's a trampoline or something, as well as all the greenery and the trees. But it's not distracting. It's not this deep, ultra rich, dark pull. It's this very nice pull that blends with the rest of the image, right? It's seamlessly, like, our eyes seamlessly graze across this photo, you know, the flash one on the right, without making any hard stops, like, oh, you know. So
yeah,
just another point there.
And there's a lot of situations where I love the HDR, I love the deep window pull and the pop.
Yeah.
And I think this will, for my photography business, it's like when we want to make an extra splash, we'll probably do this to like really convey an epic room or something.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a lot more houses. I have like 100 that you haven't seen from HDR, from just random shoots across users across the country.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna rip through so people can see.
Yeah,
Tell me if you want me to stop
great.
on any. Now again, your edits don't edit the exteriors that deeply. This is a run-of-the-mill house. The model is gonna produce something that almost looks a little unedited on exteriors like this. With a house like this, average house, it's a little underwhelming.
Yeah, the exteriors are a significant improvement for sure. I mean, in my opinion, where a lot of the AI models struggle the most is with exteriors. I just think there's so many different colors happening, and it's, to me, it's a little bit less predictable. But like, I mean, you know, again, this, like you said, with the built-in basic adjustments in AutoHDR, like, you know, in the platform, you could take this from being 95% to 100% in 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
So it's like, I don't even know that a property like this, I wouldn't market it with your style on exteriors.
For sure, yeah.
Because it's like, your style and exteriors, when a house kind of speaks for itself, you don't want to over edit it. You want it to be, you want to add that like dreamy kind of overlay. That's how I see your shoots, at least, is like, you have these just epic houses where you don't need to over edit. Like, let the house kind of speak for itself. Maybe sometimes there's a sky replacement, but here, right, is just a light kind of filter.
Yeah.
But when you do that to kind of an average house, it's a little like lacking.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so I would assume, you know, you could do it. You could certainly do it. You could touch it up.
Right.
Or you could save it for your luxury
Well, and
houses.
I think a big part of the overall look is just a more desaturated, muted look. That goes both for interiors and for exteriors. And so it's like, if you go back to that exterior, like, you can see, right, the model on the left is taking that grass.
Yeah, it's greening it up.
And it's greening the hell out of it, you know?
The shadow here is lifted.
Right, and so, you know, what I'm doing is
replaced.
trying to keep a more natural, raw, muted, you know, feeling, you know, driven look, and that's why, you know, like you see the grass being a little bit more of kind of that yellowish hue, right? It's a little bit more realistic. So, I like this one a lot. I actually like those exteriors a lot.
Now we're going to start to get into some that are not the best compositionally, right? We get a lot of photographers, they shoot in a lot of different ways. This is probably handheld, wide angle, not, you know, just kind of getting in and out of the house, but then run through the model.
Yeah, I mean, just those glares alone that it's muting are to me are already just an incredible improvement from some big issues that I think come with shooting ambient. Yeah, these exteriors are my favorite for sure.
Really?
Like, yeah, these. I mean, so
Oh, wow,
we've
that
only
was
looked at like 4 exteriors, but the exteriors of this property that it did, like, look really damn close. You know.
Really, I was going to say I don't like them that much.
Really?
Yeah, to me, well, maybe I'm just so used to this. But
I think the composition is definitely throwing us both off. I mean, you know, 40% of that photo is street.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Is asphalt.
Maybe if it was like cropped in.
Yeah. There was one that was a little bit more compressed that looked slightly better, but but I think overall color and balance and you know, like light, it's a lot closer. Very close.
Okay, let's grab this one on the site, and we can just go back and forth really easily. This was a test case. You sent me this property that you had shot, and let's see. So basically, these you can see, some of them have a flash included, some are ambient only, and we can go right side by side and see the difference. Okay, so in this new UI here, you can see the input brackets. Here it's showing just 3 of them. These are the only 3 that went into this image though. And so dark, middle, bright, ambient only, right? Output, like there's a flash right there, right? Casting a shadow.
Yep.
Here's the exact same angle with the flash. So dark, flash pop. You did indeed pop it right there. And then another flash right there. This is the output with flash. This is the output HDR only from the same exact model. So flash, no flash, it guessed the same shadow.
It's kind of funny because I actually prefer the HDR only, that it's inferring some of the light in that frame over the one where it actually used the flash.
Interesting.
And I think that may just be preference based on what the model decided to do. But what I think is even more impressive is if you go back to that bedroom shot really quickly.
Yeah.
That we were on. When it edited the flash frames, it knows, I believe I flashed this maybe 3 or 4 times, but if you obviously look at the inputs, it used 2 flash frames.
Well, so this only shows the 3 of them, so it could have used more.
Okay, okay, gotcha. Well,
but even if you include a ton, it may not include all the shadows, all of the flash. It'll select which light to use.
Still holds true. Like my point is just that it's using 2 flash frames that I am in. Now, I'm sure other people that are watching this have tried this, including myself. I have tried putting flash frames into AutoHDR's, just standard model. And every single time there's something different, and it's kind of funny. So
it won't remove you. It still, if you go to the V4 model, our newest model, and you're in the photos, and you edit it, it's trained on HDR, it will not remove you. Jacob's model, it's trained in such a way, it will remove you.
Because you're in the frames, typically, because it's blending HDR models, you're still in every frame, but you're at like 40% opacity, and so it's like just this weird ghost kind of holding a flash in the frame. And so I just kind of knew it has no idea what to do here. And that's where I knew, okay, now I got to work with Matt and his team and actually get the AI to understand what's going on, and now it does. And so you can see in that bedroom shot that we looked at, there was 2 flash frames, and I was just slightly apart in each frame, and the model knew to essentially just take me and cut me out of this side and cut me out of this side, and then use the side from each one, and then boom, there we go, we have a merged frame. I mean, these shots are so these are the shots that I was the most impressed with, is the vignettes from this gallery, because I mean, look at that, that is pure ambient. I mean, look at the inputs. It's only using ambient, and it's mimicking it using the same direction as the natural light, by the way, which I really, really like, because I am shooting to keep things realistic. I don't want to make things too artificial, and so the model is actually shooting and recreating the same direction as the actual light.
Yeah, and then this is no flash. Yep.
And you can see that any shot that it's using a flash frame and any shot that it's not using any flash frames look identical in terms of the overall way that it's lit and the colors and everything. Typically, when you're shooting, if you do shoot an only ambient frame, if the natural light is really good, it's harder to match that to a flash frame, just given the white balance differences in the raws and everything else. The model does that perfectly, so it actually solves that problem.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think let's talk about the model. It's live on the site now as people are watching this. So the way we're going to do it, right, is we've been talking about it. This is subjective taste, right? A lot of the time with AutoHDR, we make it so you can always upload, you can always come back, try it out. See our model. You only pay for what you download, so you're only getting charged if you like the photo and download it. This is replicating his style. The model works as it's intended to. So we're making it where every photo that gets processed, you're going to pay for as a result, and subjective. So if you don't want this style, it's what you're going to get. What you see was what you get. Then don't upload, don't use it.
Yeah.
It's going to cost more than the normal model. It's going to be way more costly. It's like a fine wine. But our model, you only pay for what you download. This model, you'll be charged for each one because we have indeed nailed the intended style. There's no inaccuracy. It's just subjective on what it looks like. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for people watching this that are, you know, concerned about spending a lot more money on editing, again, kind of going back to what I said earlier, like, I would encourage those people to explore, like, how much differently you can position this style of work in your business. It's not like you just take every HDR shoot you're going on and the, you know, 10 shoots a day that your company is doing and run them through this model at the same, you know, rates for your photography. This is an entirely different service. It's an entirely different product, entirely different offer for your businesses, right? And I'm currently helping people add this offer to their businesses. And I've already had people tell me that they charge $250, you know, $150 per photo shoot, and they've learned this style, this flash, you know, high-end style, and they've began selling photo shoots and had clients book them for photo shoots at $500, $600, and that's a starting point. So I would encourage people to, before you just, you know, triple your photo editing costs for no reason, which obviously makes no sense, and I wouldn't do that. I understand why you wouldn't too. I would encourage you to explore, you know, how to actually position this product in your business, and I truly believe that it can make, you know, anybody a significant, you know, more amount of money and revenue in your business as well. So
yeah, without having to, you know, find the editor, pay the editor $6.50 a photo, learn how to do it yourself.
Exactly. It's a lot of work, you know, it's a huge learning curve, and that's why I'm excited for this. And I think, you know, like, some people have asked me, like, well, what happens because this model is public and anybody can use it? And what happens when everyone's photos just begin to look identical? Well, I think what matters, and what I talk about so much over just the quality of the work and the style and the homes that you're shooting is the positioning of your business, right? There's a reason that a different level of buyer shops at Louis Vuitton versus a thrift store, right? Like, there are just two different models. I've shopped at both, right? But it's like, in my opinion, like, this is a premium product, and you charge a premium price, and you position it, you know, very premium on your social media and on your website. Maybe you have a volume-based company right now doing, you know, 50 shoots a day and pumping out HDR photos, and you want to offer this. Maybe you start, you know, sort of like a franchise or kind of a branch of your company that's a more, you know, hey, this is ABC Media Luxe, right? That way, when clients see it, their mindset immediately is shifted into, you know, this is a luxury premium product, and they know they're going to spend more money, right? Things like that. I could talk about this forever, but, like, you know, it's a big objection to this, and a lot of people are going to be unhappy that, you know, I'm putting this model out there, you know, and I'm sort of ready for that. But like I said, I think the people who adopt it properly are going to see some serious success and be very happy with it. So I'm excited.
I think the model should be expensive, and, you know, it's like, you've spent years and years and, like, working with this editor, nailing your style, nailing your craft of how you shoot.
Yeah.
All of that's what has gone into this. And for it to be a scarce commodity, you know, it needs to be more expensive. That's why there's less premium products being used.
And I mean, I think, you know, HDR is so popular. There are millions and millions and literally millions of photos that your model was trained on, right? And so that style is not necessarily a style, like a unique, subjective, like, editorial style, because it's what thousands and thousands of overseas editors have put out, you know, for decades now in this industry. And so I think this is different in the way that, like, this is the style that, and, like, yes, there are people whose work looks similar, but, like, this is the style that I have refined over years.
It's very unique. I've seen a lot of styles of, like, architectural and this moody style. Yours is very unique, where I could call out now a Jacob Guthrie photo, like, out of anyone. That's because of the exact
I can do the same with other photographers, so it's cool to hear that. But yeah, like, you know, like you said, like, this is a premium product, not only on the editing side, but on the you know, what you charge your client for this product side. So, you know, I'm incredibly impressed at you and your team that you were able to do this, and I'm incredibly grateful that I have the opportunity to, you know, to put this out into the world and see what people do with it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
appreciate you
excited.
taking a chance on us being able to pull it off. You know, a lot of people are very reluctant. They don't trust anyone with their photos.
Yeah.
And yeah, you took that leap, and we've been able to do something incredible. It's honestly the thing that I'm most proud of in our company since we had the first model that could edit real estate photos like a human would with
Yep.
AI. You know, and now it's like you're talking about the agency owner who didn't have the ability to do this, who can now do it. It's like anyone across the world can use your taste, your style, without needing the skill set. And so it's like,
Right.
you know, we've now gone from dictating what the photo should look like based on everyone's feedback and optimizing for the HDR style and the aesthetic and the pop, but also just accuracy, you know, to being able to just build a system where we're not teaching it what to do. It's a system that has the ability to learn your creative decision making. And so it's like you're editing the photo, shooting and editing in a sense.
Yeah,
for them.
well, and I mean, what I love is like, you know, like admittedly, I've been very skeptical about your ability to actually pull this off, and you know, I was proven wrong, which I wanted to be. So I'm glad I was. But like, like I met you 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago here in Austin, at the Acre Partner Mastermind, and I remember asking you, and this was, you know, this was early on in AutoHDR's, you know, sort
like
of
18 months
story. Yeah, and you know, the model was in a completely different place, and you know, you and the team and like just everything was completely different. But your optimism was contagious, and like, and I remember asking you there, can it edit flash frames? And it's like your response was, not right now, but it will. And there was no hesitance, you know, like it was just, it will. Like one day it will be able to edit flambient. And I remember I was like, you're nuts. Like I don't think that that's possible, you know, like, and here we are. So it's crazy to be sitting in this chair 2 years
Well, it's
later.
all possible.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy to be sitting here across from you 2 years later after asking you that question. It's like, you know, we've done it. You know, here it is.
It's a beautiful moment. Well, great. Let's wrap it up there.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Heck yeah, dude. Can't wait for everyone to get their hands on this and try it. Send me all the photos in on Instagram. I want to see all of them.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thank you if you listened to here. Peace.
Takes arms, multi-armed form, and says,